Hi there, Year 9. Welcome to another one of your lessons. This one is still looking at conventions and design data. Really important stuff that as a designer you need to know to be able to, as a designer, somebody working in the construction industry, you need to know this to be able to actually read the plans to make and design something. As you find, your tasks on the slides will be in the yellow boxes, keywords will be in the pink boxes. This is one of Miss Anderson's presentations that she's produced for us that I'm going to record over. Well done to those people that submitted work last week in a really timely fashion. So both Robert and I think Callum both handed in their work within, I think, 3 hours of when it was set. So that's incredible efficiency. Well done. And we'll work our way through this. This task is going to be over sort of a 2-week period. I'll reset it again next week. So with the bank holiday, if you needed to take a little bit more time, you can do. It means you can get a much higher quality piece of work out at the end of it. Okay. So just a quick task to remind ourselves of the work from last time round. So can you name the conventions below? So these are drawing conventions. If you're not sure, you can look at the previous work. So it's 4 different drawings here. 1, 2, 3, 4. What are they? You can pause and write down answers if you so wish. Okay, so facing back on the work we completed last week, have a go at answering the following questions in full sentences. So what is a convention? What are the advantages of using conventions? Can you think of any disadvantages of using conventions? And which conventions that we looked at last week do you think are going to be most useful? Okay, I have my own personal opinion. Other people have different views on that, but I know which one I find the most useful personally. So a convention is a set of I would say nationally or internationally recognised symbols or way of working in terms of a drawing. Okay. One of our advantages of conventions are that people all over the world or over a nation will understand those conventions and understand those drawing symbols. So other people can read that. It's not a case of you've drawn something, but only you know it because it's in a secret code. Everyone should know that. Disadvantages are sometimes that some of the fine detail can be really difficult to spot and to show, and things can be missed. Okay. Which conventions do you think are most useful? Personally, for me, I love plans. When I bought my last house, I spent an awful lot of time looking at plans. I don't care about the photos, what it look like. I just want to see plans. How big is it? Okay, where are the doors? How can I change that space? I found that really useful. That's for me personally. You might have other ideas, and that's completely fine. So, interpreting some conventions, here's some plans. Okay, dimensions are added to each of these rooms to show how much space is available. These are plans from Rightmove, which is a website for buying houses. I would often find that you would have the conventions for arrows on the outside of drawings. They wouldn't normally have the dimensions inside the drawing itself. So metrics that are used, so the measurements that are normally used are going to be feet and inches or meters. We've been trying to use meters a lot more nowadays, but feet and inches are still used quite a lot in construction industry. Okay, so here you've got 2 different plans. So this is your upstairs. I'm just drawing a big yellow circle around it. That's not upstairs. That's a lie. That is the downstairs because it's got a kitchen and a lounge. And upstairs is the same building, bathroom, bedroom 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So let's just have a quick look at this. So the lounge itself is named lounge, highlighting that yellow, and then the size of that 14.4 foot, 14 foot 5 inches by 10 foot 5 inches. That's just identifying the 14 is that way and the 10 is that way. Okay, so because it's a rectangle, you can tell the longest dimension and the shortest dimension. Okay, so just be aware of that. If a plan shows measurements but not what metric they're in, more often than not they're going to be in meters. However, do look out for the hyphens, not hyphens, the marks there to identify that you're talking feet and inches. Okay, speech marks, but mind blank at this point as to what they are actually called. So this is a really nice looking house. I'd very much like this myself in terms of upstairs. That bedroom there has got a nice, lovely looking dressing room, and then an actual shower room built in. Okay, this bedroom up here's also got a ensuite. This is a lovely house. I wish I had a house that size. So you might get something like this, where bedroom 4 is just looking a little bit confusing. The measurements of bedroom 4 here are just the rectangle measurements, okay, rather than this unusable space that's in the yellow box. Okay, you'd struggle to give a measurement on a real simple plan, so they just give you the basic rectangular measurements. On this plan, there's some different colours used. These are just identifying different rooms, could be different floor materials, just to give you an idea that different rooms have different functions. If a plan says avoid, that means that there is nothing there. So in this plan, which is the lovely house that I saw earlier, where it says void, that means that your hallway would have a bit that overlooks the downstairs, so there isn't any floor there for you to walk on. So we've got a few questions here. Okay, at this point, pause the video, have a go at the questions, and then start again once you've had a look at those questions. Once again, a few more questions here, looking at a different set of plans this time. So starting with which room contains the boiler, identify where the boiler is, what's the name of that room, okay, what is the largest room and what's its size, and pause, do, then press play again. So once you've got all this data and information, this technical information, we need to be able to interpret a variety of other bits of information as well and understand them. So a couple that we're going to really look at here will be a specification. This is a list of key requirements that a building project will have. Okay, so it acts as a summary. It also acts as part of a contract. You write specification, or your clients write a specification, they'll tell you exactly what they want. Okay, and if you then don't deliver that, they're not going to pay you. Okay, so I'm right this very moment actually sat inside my construction project from last summer. Did half the work myself, but the builders came in and did the actual main construction work. So I'm just going to rotate very slightly. You see there's a window here. I made it really clear that I needed a window and what size window I wanted. They put that in. Over this side, this wall, that door there leads through to a small utility, and I put in the specification what plumbing and power requirements I needed for that utility. Okay, they then went and did that. Okay, so I've been really specific there. Sizes, where I want to plug sockets, those types of things are part of the specification. Okay, building regulations. All construction projects have to fulfill building regulations, which are a set of national standards that are managed by a local authority of how a building project is undertaken. So how much insulation needs to be in, what level of wall thickness is, position of plug sockets in relation to water taps. This makes sure the buildings are actually made safely. There's a question about building regs on the next page, so I'm not going to go into much more detail right this very second. So, task 4. Okay, I want you to have a look at building regulations approval. Okay, on www.gov.uk/building regs approval. What do building regulations cover? And they do cover quite a lot. If you can write your answers as bullet points, okay, or as a paragraph. Why do we need to follow building regulations? There's a couple of key reasons why we need to follow building regulations, but I'll let you try and find that out. And we've added a little extra challenge there. Okay, you need to include some examples. Okay, particularly looking at environmental effects, psychological. Okay, so have a read of that question, see if you can add to that. So that's going to take about 15 minutes. So feel free to pause the video at this stage and come back to it later. So the design brief. This is another piece of technical information. This is where we would start on any project. You start with a design brief. Okay, what do you want to achieve from this project? Okay, so it's normally written by the client or maybe the lead designer. It's written like a report, and it always contains these 6 things. So reference to the client. Who is the client? Who is it being designed for? Where, then site information. Where is it going to be? Okay. Spatial requirements. So in the case of this, how much space is required for this office, the utility? Okay. How much space was there in the garage to start with? Technical aspects. So that'd be your plugs, your plumbing, okay, radiators, windows. Material and component requirements. So for this project here, there's a bit of a pitch roof on top of the garage. It's about the only material requirement we had when we got the planning permission was they had to match the neighbours and roof tiles. So that was a material requirement that we had to match. Same with bricks actually. And then project requirements around completion time, costs, etc. So that would be written in a design brief. So we're going to focus on each bit in sort of step by step here. So reference to the client, okay. So what they do, what the building's to be used for, okay, and to understand the end purpose of the project. So the design brief for the office I sit in now would have explained a little bit about me as a person. Then the teacher, that I want the space to work. It needs to have plenty of daylight. There needs to be a utility because we've got a new baby and we want to make sure that we've got both a washing machine and a tumble dryer in there to free some space in the kitchen, so we've got space for a dishwasher. All these sort of things would go into that. Okay. Unfortunately, the problem with this, I never wrote a design brief for this project because as well as being the client, I was also a lead designer. I designed this entire project, so sometimes it and I also acted as the architect in many ways because I drew up all the plans. So I didn't need to put this in place itself, but that's what I would have done for this project. Okay. So we're going to read through a design brief here. And whilst we're reading through, I'd like you to make a list of the key points from the design brief. Okay, it's going to fall into a number of categories. Needs, so what are the main thing the family are asking to be built? Okay, wants, what additional features have the family asked for? So needs are what it has to have. Wants are, would be really nice if we want this. I want to have a swimming pool, but it's not going to happen. But so identifying what are key, so the needs, what are the extras? Suggested materials. What materials have the family said they'd like? Okay, a bit like I talked about my tiles we needed to have. Things to avoid, what don't they want? And are there any other considerations and things we need to look at before builders step on site? So you want to write a list of those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the design brief for you word for word. So if you struggle to read it, you can read it alongside me, or you can read it separately. I'll leave that up to you. You might want to fast forward me if you're going to read it separately. But remember, make that table, either print that off yourself, or you can make it by hand and have that to hand as I read through. So this is a home extension design brief. It's got a budget of between 25,000 and 30,000 plus VAT. The clients identified problems with the existing house. The bedrooms on the first floor are too small and do not have much natural light. When friends come to stay, they have to camp down in the living room. The garage fits 2 cars, but we only have 1, so space is mostly used for storage. The stairs are all old and creaky, and the banister moves when it's held tight. So that's a few problems with the house. So the essential extra space needed. Bedrooms. Currently the home is 2 bedrooms. We need a 3rd for our growing family, but ideally you would like a 4th as an additional guest room or as a study. The bathroom on the 1st floor is what we'd like. Small and compact is fine. It does not need a shower bath, as we have that on the ground floor, so an extra toilet maybe. New rooms that would be desirable, like an ensuite bathroom to the new master bedroom that contains a WC, that's a water closet, so toilet. It can be quite compact. At the moment my screen and face is over the words, so I can't read the last few words on that one. Appearance. We'd like it to match the existing house in scale and materials. We like a traditional design on the outside, but a modern interior. We want it to have lots of light to give an airy feel to the spaces. New banisters should be made out of a natural hardwood to ensure durability and keep with modern vibe of the home. Should. Hint, hint. Future. We'd allow space for an attic conversion at a later date. We'd like to put a new boiler in. We'd like to redecorate the hall landing and all new rooms. And we would like to replace the existing timber windows with new to match. Other important considerations. The house will be occupied during the building work, so kitchen facilities will need to be available for most of the time, as well as obviously toilet facilities. The baby is due in 7 months time, so building work should not start until several weeks after that. Okay, unlike me, where we did all the building work just before baby arrived. We dislike dormer windows. If you're not sure what a dormer window is, go and find out. We don't like concrete tiles. We don't like strip pine. Okay, and I can't read underneath my fit picture again. We do not have a good relationship with the neighbour on one side. That's problematic. And we're in a conservation area, so we need special planning permission. Also problematic. Okay. Moving forward. Hopefully you've got a good list there of some of the key points from the design. So below is a plan of the 1st floor of the client's home without an extension. The dimensions have been taken in meters. Okay. You can, at this point, add an extra little task in here if you so wish, and that is that you could spend 5 minutes drawing a new plan. I will show you a new plan in a couple of slides time, but you can come up with what would be your new plan, doing an extension on the side, roughly the size of this slide, in fact. So along in this space here, if you wanted to have a go at doing an extension. Okay, what would that look like? Thinking about access to bedrooms, etc. So this is what they've come up with for the extension plan. Okay, I don't know if it looks anything like yours. So what I'd like you to now do is copy out the plan below, add the interior doors and the windows. Okay, consider the direction in which the doors will open in order to have easy access and where the natural light can be found. So as it's highlighted here, just draw a circle. Direct sunlight comes from the front of the house, and the front of the house is where the area I've just circled. So make sure you consider where the sunlight's coming. Okay, for most of the sunlight anyway. So that's probably a good point if you're only doing half this week and half next week. This is probably a good point for us to have a stop and a bit of a break. However, if you want to continue, please do so. So we're going to look at site information now. This is what we're focused on for the time being. So it refers to actually understanding where development's going to take place. What are the problems with that area? Are there anything that needs to be considered? For example, there isn't actually a driveway. If a house is right onto a road and you're going to do a construction project, site information will have to state that you could be building and using like the public path or the road to store a skip or something, you need to get a special license for that. So this is all really important stuff to think about, and it all adds up. So site information, including surveys, limitations and restrictions that may help or hinder the feasibility of the project. Okay, legal and planning matters are also featured to ensure statutory compliance. So there's lots of big words there. So surveys, this is where somebody will come and check maybe the ground conditions for a big project. They might come and check how structurally sound the existing building is. So they're going to give you some more information about the site. Limitations and restrictions. How big is the site? What access do you have to the site? When we start looking at feasibility, okay, we talk about how feasible a project is. We talk about how likely it is that it's going to be possible to complete the project. And then looking at legal and planning matters. Most projects do require planning permission, although there is a list of projects that don't require planning permission. You do need to check every project to make sure that you are allowed to do it in the first instance. Sometimes you check the list and it's like, definitely fine, don't need a planning permission. Sometimes, and for this project, I was confident I didn't need a planning permission for my office here, because it met the bunch of criteria. I checked, so I spent, I think it's £50 to ask the planning office if I need planning permission. They came back and said I did need planning permission, so then I moved on to writing a planning application. That costs a few £100, but it's not the end of the world, and it is possible to get reasonably straightforward. And that's to ensure statutory compliance. In other words, it's ensuring you don't break the law, because if you don't get all that in place, you can get fined. You get told once you finish your building work to restore it to its original shape. So if I hadn't got planning permission, the council could have come here, turned to me and said, "Now that's a lovely office you got there, can you turn it back into a garage?" And you don't want to see a teacher cry, but that would have happened. So you're going to conduct a walking survey of the property that we're talking about in our example so far. Okay, couple of key parts of the walking survey: identifying health and safety issues. You're going to identify whether you got access. Okay, and is there anything that's likely to cause a problem to your project? So what in the boxes, you're going to write down what are the problems, and you're going to explain why that is a problem. Reasonably straightforward. So let's have a look at some photos. So here we have the front of the property. The red box is where the extension would be built, above the garage. So that gives us a little bit of idea. You write down any issues you see with building just there, particularly with those neighbours that they don't get on with from earlier. And there's obviously a photo of what it looks like from the property looking out. It looks like quite a busy street from the looks of it. So access to the side gate that leads to the garden, but you have to walk onto the neighbour's property for easy access. So you need to get an agreement with the neighbour. I hope that's the neighbour they like, not, and it's the other side they don't like. Enough parking for 3 vehicles, so plenty of parking there, so that's okay. But I think there might be a problem with the side. Okay. Do they have access via the kitchen then? So yeah, looking at the downstairs, you can go through the kitchen. I'm going to draw an arrow here. You come out the doors there, go through the kitchen and the living space. Have builders, tools, I don't know, cement mixer going round the side. Maybe even consider, will this project require scaffolding? Where would the scaffolding go? Would that have to go on the next door neighbour's property? This is what the back garden looks like. So the red bit there is where the kitchen door is. Okay, so the building work would probably be bottom right hand corner, as it were, towards us. It looks like going straight out the door, there's some uneven patio slabs. The garden doesn't look much of a garden, looks more like a gravel pit. Don't know if that's going to be useful or not. So think of all these problems you might have from this walking survey. So this is where we'll focus on for now and into next week. So in spatial requirements, dimension, plans and elevations. Okay, so actually knowing the sizes, like I said right at the start, it's about the size of the project. So on the previous slides, I've given you ground floor and first floor plans. Okay, and you've also seen photos and pictures of the property. So what we're going to do is get you to have a go at drawing the elevation. So these are some different elevations of a rear and side elevation of the property. However, there's not this property. Okay. One of the things you're going to have to do is add the elevations to this, which will be making sure that you've got where the garage is. So for your property, chances are the garage is going to be in here to start with. I think there's a front door. I'm just drawing it again. And then you're going to build the extension on up here. Okay. Amazing drawing skills there using my mouse and a blue highlighter. So that's going to be the front elevation. You're going to show what the front of the house is going to look like before and after the work. And then you're going to do the same with the side elevation. What does the side view look like? So this is your side view. What will that look like before? What will that look like after? This, if you're doing a planning application, you'd have to produce front and side elevations to show what you would like your property to look like. And when we get back in school, I'll actually bring in my architectural plans that I produced for my home project, so you can have a look at that. You don't need to draw them to scale, but you must keep them in proportion. Okay, so try and do this as neat as you can. Okay, look at those diagrams there; they'll be really useful. Okay. Thinking a little bit about how will you show the bits that stick out in your elevations. This is also useful to consider. Okay, there's this little bit down here, really important to consider that as well.